to the travel ban and the kind of divisive politics which they feel that it represents and they see coming from the Trump administration. And that's why in London we have had 3 very large demonstrations since he came into office 2 weeks ago. I think it's interesting you did talk about demonstrations all around the world, and there have been others in Jakarta, in Australia, but really only a few hundred came out in Paris. It's in London where you've seen really large numbers as a result of this travel ban. On Monday there were 30,000 people here at Downing Street. Today again, and I think the reason you're seeing these kinds of numbers coming out in the UK is because of Brexit, because of the way that the issue of Brexit and especially the issue of immigration within the Brexit debate has divided this country. And there were many people who were marching today who were very angry at Theresa May for what they see as cozying up to Donald Trump. Some of the banners that I saw said things like "Shame on May," Theresa the appeaser. So that's very much mixed into the feeling amongst those who oppose this travel ban here in Britain.
All right, Diana Magnay live from London. Thank you. Let's turn to Trita now. Trita, what's your reaction to this ban and the protests we're seeing around the world?
Well, if you take a look at the ban itself, I think by now it's become quite clear this administration has a great difficulty conducting any type of policies because of the tremendous ideological contradictions that exist within the administration itself. We're now seeing how other secretaries appointed by Trump, from Homeland Security to Defense and to State, have been opposing this internally. And part of the reason why we're seeing this chaos is precisely because the effort by a few people inside of the White House and the NSC try to essentially run over the entire bureaucracies. President Trump pledged to be the law and order president, but all that we have seen now in the last 2 weeks since he came into office is more disorder, chaos, and disunity, not just in the United States, but we're also now seeing it throughout the world where people are reacting to the disorder that he's creating.
Trita, it is important to point out that 47% of Americans actually wanted this travel ban. I do want to ask you, though, what went through your mind when you heard that this judge in Seattle put a stop to the immigration order?
Well, on the first point regarding 47%, I think most people may actually not fully understand what the ban is. If they, for instance, did understand that it is banning countries who have not conducted any successful terrorist attacks on U.S. soil, not killed a single American on U.S. soil, whereas countries that actually stand for about 94% of the American casualties of terrorist attacks on American soil are not included. If more people knew about this, I think many of those 47% would realize that this ban is doing absolutely nothing to add to their security. But I understand their sense of vulnerability. After several months of President Trump and then candidate Trump constantly whipping out these harsh emotions against Muslims and blaming the Muslim population for everything that is happening and creating that fear about them, it is not surprising that some people would be falling for this illusion of security that he's offering them.
Now, we do have to ask about these new sanctions on Iran, punishment for its ballistic missile tests last week. Interestingly, the Obama administration issued similar sanctions last year in response to previous missile tests. Are these even effective?
No, these sanctions are not going to be particularly effective, and to be completely frank, there's hardly anything the United States really could do in order to be able to significantly set back Iran's ballistic missile program, mindful of the fact that there's absolutely no support in the UN Security Council for a stronger line on this issue. They don't believe that this is a violation of the UN Security Council resolution. And the previous president did issue these sanctions and did have escalation at various points, but he also made sure that de-escalatory options were available. They had a very strong dialogue, particularly between Kerry and Zarif, so that they could dial things down. They could resolve issues if it got too heated. The Trump administration appears not to have even attempted to create those lines of communications before they went and significantly escalated the situation, not necessarily with the sanctions, but with this notice that Flynn put out against Iran a couple of days ago.
One last question, Trita. Defense Secretary James Mattis earlier this morning called Iran, quote, the single biggest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, partially referring to Houthi rebels in Yemen. Perhaps when he was in the military in the Iraq War, some of the terrorist cells there that Iran allegedly sponsored. Do you agree with that assessment?
It's for a long time that the Iranians have been involved in things of that kind. However, I think this is language that perhaps was more accurate 20 or so years ago. We have a scenario right now with ISIS. We have a scenario in which U.S. allies such as Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar are the sources of much of the funding that ISIS is getting, and the United States is almost saying absolutely nothing about that. I think it is fair to point out that the Iranians are doing very negative things, but this complete silence about what U.S. allies like Saudi Arabia, who actually have accounted for American deaths on American soil, that silence, I think, betrays that this is really not about security. This is about something else.
All right, Trita Parsi, we thank you for your perspective. We'll be right back after this break.
Thank you.
Afoot and lighthearted, I take to the open road. Healthy, free, the world before me, the long brown path before me leading wherever I choose. The east and the west are mine. The north and the south are mine. All seems beautiful to me.
I enlisted in the Army in 2005. She's the culprit that ripped her door off. Actually used the app, take pictures of it right there for USAA, and they take care of the rest. I'm Josh Eilers, and I'm a USAA member for life.
Don't just eat yogurt, wear it. New Aveeno Daily Moisturizing Body Yogurt, enriched with the nutrients found in Greek yogurt, intensely nourishes skin for 48 hours. Aveeno, naturally beautiful results.
Why do some cashback cards make earning bonus cashback so complicated? They limit where you can earn bonus cashback to a few places, and those places keep changing every few months. The Quicksilver card, you earn unlimited 1.5% cashback on every purchase everywhere. Leave complicated behind. What's in your wallet?
If you're searching other travel sites to find a better price, stop clicking around. The lowest prices on our hotels are always at Hilton.com. So pay less and get more, only at Hilton.com.
Infallible matte gloss from L'Oreal, the Pro Matte Sensation. Intense color, ultra matte finish. Feels so velvety soft. High impact matte color that lasts. Matte has never been so addictive. Infallible. The matte gloss from L'Oreal makeup designer, Paris.
My belly pain and constipation, I've heard it all. Eat more fiber, flax seeds, yogurt.
Get moving, keep moving. I know.
Try laxatives. Been there, done that.
My chronic constipation keeps coming back. I know. Tell me something I don't know.
Linzess works differently from laxatives. Linzess treats adults with IBS with constipation or chronic constipation. It can help relieve your belly pain and lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements that are easier to pass. Do not give Linzess to children under 6, and it should not be given to children 6 to 17. It may harm them. Don't take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor about managing your symptoms proactively with Linzess.
Good morning, and thanks for joining me. I'm Boris Sanchez in for Frederica Whitfield. The White House is scrambling at this hour to challenge a federal judge in Seattle who blocked President Trump's travel ban. The ruling coming from Washington State, where the Attorney General there says no one is above the law, not even the president. Now the government is in the process of reinstating visas that were revoked when the order took effect last weekend. CNN's Rachel Crane is at JFK International Airport in New York, where last weekend there was a chaotic situation as the travel ban went into effect. Rachel, what's the situation there today?
Well, Boris, we've been here all morning, and it has been very calm. I mean, it is a far cry from that scene we saw this weekend with over 1,000 protesters here. Now, the State Department's reversal, good news for travelers. However, they did specify that people whose visas were physically canceled, that they would not be honored. And at this point, we don't know how many of those some 60,000 people who were impacted by this travel ban, how many of those visas were physically canceled. Now, we spoke to a lawyer here on the ground who voiced her frustration about that element of this decision. Take a listen.
I mean, that's just a terrible, terrible thing. The government created this chaos. They had no legal valid basis to cancel these visas, which can be expensive, which can be time-consuming. You have to travel to consulates, which often are not close to where the people live, right? I mean, in some countries, we only have one consulate in the capital city, maybe two. Some of them take years. Green card visas, for example, can take years, and not to mention refugee visas. And actually, another thing we're doing is going to be reaching out to our refugee resettlement partners to make sure that the canceled flights are reinstated for them. But we're going to continue to fight back because this is wrong.
Now, she went on to tell us that one of their biggest challenges at this point is simply letting those some 60,000 people that were impacted by this travel ban know that they are free to travel now. Boris?
All right, Rachel Crane, thanks for keeping an eye on that for us. Let's turn now to CNN aviation analyst Mary Schiavo. She's also a former inspector general at the U.S. Department of Transportation. Mary, airlines that had been told to stop travelers from boarding planes are now being told to allow those passengers to fly. They are apparently following that order. But this is a lot of confusion, isn't it? How's it going to impact airports, airlines, travelers?
Well, certainly it does impact all of the above, but you know, airlines have some rules in place, and so do our federal regulations. Now, airlines' own contracts of carriage, which can be found online, tell you whose responsibility it is for the visas, etc. But if you're flying on a U.S. carrier, you have a couple advantages. We have a pre-inspection service where all your documents are submitted in advance before the plane takes off, in most cases. Now, there are exceptions just for some ports of call for the airlines, but you would know before the plane takes off whether you're going to face a problem when you land. And then again, when you land, U.S. federal regulations say that if you are found not eligible to enter, the airline has to return you. So unlike the Tom Hanks movie, The Terminal, where we ended up living in the terminal, the federal regulations say the airline has to return you back. So there are a lot of precautions already built into the regulation, into the system, and then the airlines themselves have contracts of carriage rules and their own rules as to what they will do.
But isn't there a good chance that, let's say the Department of Justice gets this stay on the judge's order once it eventually comes down, that there will be more travelers in limbo?
Well, absolutely. I mean, depending upon how the law goes, and of course that's how it works in the courts. I mean, I'm a lawyer, and I can't count the number of times I've been waiting on appeals or stays or special orders. But in the interim, absolutely, there could be a lot of confusion. But the key is always to work with the airline before you take off. Of course, I'm assuming everybody who's traveling is trying to do it honestly. So you can work with your airline and ask for these checks and these pre-inspection, actually pre-landing checks. Now, here's the problem. Another problem to add to the list. Some foreign carriers have refused to participate in this pre-inspection process. So frankly, as a traveler, if you're traveling to the United States on a non-U.S. carrier and your carrier does not participate in this, won't submit your travel documents, what that means is they submit the travel documents in advance to the United States. If they don't do that, they're putting their travelers at additional disadvantage. So that's another way to alleviate the problems in the interim and the unknown. Try to get fly with a pre-inspection service.
All right, Mary Schiavo, we appreciate your expertise. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Vice President Mike Pence will take the stage in Philadelphia in the next hour. Will he address this controversial order to halt President Trump's travel ban? And later, since President Trump's executive order went into effect, thousands of visas have been revoked. We're going to talk about what's next for those visa holders.
Experian helps you learn to be better at managing credit, which can help you be better prepared when unexpected things happen. Because you can see what's in your Experian credit report for free and get free alerts about key changes in your credit, plus free customer support in case you have questions. Everything you need to help make sure your credit is ready for whatever expenses come next.
I'm pregnant.
Credit isn't just a score, it's a skill. Start getting better today for free at Experian.com/free.
My day starts well before I'm even in the kitchen. I need my blood sugar to stay in control. So I asked about Tresiba.
Tresiba is a once-daily, long-acting insulin that lasts even longer than 24 hours.
I need to shave my A1C. Tresiba works like my body's insulin. Releases slow and steady, providing powerful A1C reduction.
I'm always on call. An insulin that fits my schedule is key. I can take Tresiba any time of day. So if I miss or delay a dose, I take it when I remember, as long as there's at least 8 hours between doses.
Once in use, it lasts 8 weeks, with or without refrigeration. Twice as long as the Lantus pen.
Tresiba is used to control high blood sugar in adults with diabetes. Don't use Tresiba to treat diabetic ketoacidosis or if you are allergic to any of its ingredients. Don't share needles or insulin pens. Don't reuse needles. The most common side effect is low blood sugar, which may cause dizziness, sweating, confusion, and headache. Check your blood sugar. Low blood sugar can be serious and may be life-threatening. Injection site reactions may occur. Tell your prescriber about all medicines you take and all your medical conditions. Taking TZDs with insulins like Tresiba may cause serious side effects like heart failure. Your insulin dose shouldn't be changed without asking your prescriber. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing, fast heartbeat, extreme drowsiness, swelling of your face, tongue, or throat, dizziness, or confusion. Ask your healthcare provider if you're Tresiba ready. Covered by most insurance and Medicare plans.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Do not go gentle to that good night.
Everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and SERVPRO.com.
Vice President Mike Pence will speak in Philadelphia next hour, and the lingering question is, will he address the new challenge affecting President Trump's travel policy by a federal judge? CNN White House reporter Stephen Collinson joins us now live. Stephen, Pence addressing the Federalist Society today. What do we expect to hear from the Vice President?
Well, so far, the White House isn't saying whether Mike Pence will weigh in on the latest furor over the travel ban and the ruling last night that threw this whole thing into turmoil. The ostensible purpose of this speech was to go up to Philadelphia to support the nomination of Judge Gorsuch for the Supreme Court in front of the Federalist Society, which played a great deal of a role in selecting him. But clearly, the fact that this speech also has another theme of the role of courts in society, this takes on a whole new meaning in the light of the President of the United States' very unusual attack this morning on, the judge involved in this Washington case as a so-called judge. You don't see that very often. So I think this makes this a much more politically delicate assignment for Mike Pence than it might otherwise have been.
Yeah, the timing is certainly funny. Gorsuch got the nomination, but now comes the hard part, right? I want you to listen to something that Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said earlier today, quote, "With each action testing the Constitution and each personal attack on a judge, President Trump raises the bar even higher for Judge Gorsuch's nomination to serve on the Supreme Court. His ability to be an independent check will be front and center throughout the confirmation process." This kind of lines up the fact that that confirmation process is going to be a battle. So how is Gorsuch preparing for this fight?
I think this is going to be a confirmation process that's going to be less about Gorsuch himself, his qualifications and his temperament to serve on the Supreme Court than the political turmoil that is raging around Washington right now. Clearly, this new intervention by the judge on the travel ban is going to play into this, because if you think about it, Democrats now have even less incentive to cooperate with a speedy confirmation process for the judge, given the fact that this case might soon, or eventually at least, end up in the Supreme Court, and currently there's a 4-4 balance on the Supreme Court with the 9th seat empty. So why would Democrats put a judge on the court that's been nominated by President Trump, for whom this travel ban legal row represents a huge political liability? So I think that's going to make it a much more contentious process. Schumer is already raising questions about whether the president is calling into question the independence of the judiciary. So it's another ingredient in what is already turning out to be a very contentious confirmation process for the judge.
All right, Stephen Collison, thank you so much. We'll see you again at the top of the hour with that speech from Mike Pence. Up next, the countdown is on. We're just one day away from the Super Bowl. We're going to go live next to Houston with a look at Sunday's showdown.
The world is your oyster, Blueberry. You can be anything you want, so don't settle down as a pie or boring muffin. Hang with Fage Total. We'll blow every spoon to the moon. Fage Total 2% Blueberry Split Cup. Nothing more, never less.
I use what's already inside me to reach my goals. So I like when my doctor told me I may reach my blood sugar and A1C goals by activating what's within me. With once weekly Trulicity. Trulicity is not insulin. It helps activate my body to do what it's supposed to do, release its own insulin. Trulicity responds when my blood sugar rises. I take it once a week, and it works 24/7. It comes...
And to improve blood sugar in adults with type 2 diabetes when used with diet and exercise. Insulin. It should know this. Do not take Trulicity if you or a member has had medullary thyroid cancer, if you've had multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2, or if you are allergic to Trulicity. Stop Trulicity and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms such as itching, rash, or trouble breathing, a lump or swelling in your neck, or severe pain in your stomach area. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis, which can be fatal. Taking Trulicity with a sulfonylurea or insulin increases your risk for low blood sugar. Common side effects include nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, decreased appetite, and indigestion. Some side effects can lead to dehydration, which may make existing kidney problems worse.
With Trulicity, I clicked to activate what's within me.
If you want help improving your A1C and blood sugar numbers with a non-insulin option, click to activate your within. Ask your doctor about once weekly Trulicity.
Closed captioning brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. That's why we offer this free book.
Call toll-free at 1-800-400-5218.
Thursday at 9, CNN's Van Jones, The Messy Truth.
It feels like the politics of a developing country.
With special guest comedian Bill Maher and at 10, Free Speech. The premiere of this CNN original series, The History of Comedy, Thursday on
1977, Disco, Bell Bottoms, and Ford F-Series starts its epic run as the best-selling trucks in America. 2017, F-Series is still king for 40 straight years. Why? Rock-solid durability, up to the nanosecond technology, and jaw-dropping capability. Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 40 straight years.
Now get an F-150 with 0% financing for 60 months plus $3,300 cash back. Only at your local Ford dealer.
In the time that it takes you to watch this commercial, someone is going to be injured in a car crash. If you've been hurt in a car crash, there's only one number you need to remember. 222-HURT. Call Thorson, Swatala, Mondock, and Sneak. Small enough to care.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Fortunately, giving us a break from the action in Washington, D.C. and in courts around the country, we can now focus on the action in Houston this weekend, the Super Bowl. One more day until the big showdown between the Patriots and the Falcons. Tom Brady looking to take down Atlanta's defense and earn the Lombardi Trophy from the guy that suspended him for 4 games, Commissioner Roger Goodell. Coy Wire joins us now live from Houston. Fans are traveling from across the country for the big game. What's it like in Houston right now, Coy?
It's picking up, Boris, especially these past couple of days here at Super Bowl Live, downtown Houston. Fans from all across the country, a lot of stars. We've seen stars on the red carpet here. We'll talk about that maybe tomorrow for you. But there will be some notables at the game on Sunday, too, and one of them scheduled to attend is Vice President Mike Pence. Now, the Super Bowl was already tagged as a top-tier national security event by the Department of Homeland Security, and federal officials have been planning for months to make Houston's NRG Stadium and the surrounding area secure for tomorrow's game. Former President George H.W. Bush and his wife Barbara will also be in attendance as part of the honorary coin toss. All right, NFL stars LaShawn McCoy and Jarvis Landry teams up with Nike to infuse some hope in the youth and revitalize an historic rivalry between Yates and Wheatley high schools here in Houston. For decades, this was the largest attended high school game in the nation. 30,000 people would gather to cheer on this rivalry between the two predominantly African-American high schools. But the communities fell on tough times, and when the football program suffered, the community suffered more. Well, the last 3 days, the kids had inspiration night with current and former NFL stars, highlighting their history. They were surprised with new uniforms. They spent some time with their heroes on the football field, too.
For us to come back here and teach them the game, have fun with them, let them know that it's okay to be yourself, man, and have fun playing this game. I think it's just a kind of insurance for the kids that anything's possible.
I was their age, and I wish somebody would have been in my neighborhood or back in my hometown doing this. So big shout out to Nike, and all the people that made this possible.
All right, it's almost game time. Kickoff in Houston. A CNN Bleacher Report special airs today, 2:30 Eastern on CNN and CNN International. I and Hines Ward, my bald brother, will join John Berman to discuss how the Falcons will take down John Berman's Patriots. I can say that as a former Falcon. Unbiased journalism is not me today, Boris. I think you know that.
Staying completely impartial as usual, Coy Wire, after a short break.